So about 18 years ago, I listened to the radio on a Sunday afternoon, and there was a voice on the radio, and she said some things, and she said, New Vision Center, where we look at our stuff differently. And I said, man, I need to look at my stuff differently, because this is not working. And so the very next Sunday, I came and found the New Vision Center, and that is where I got to meet Reverend Dr. Michelle Madrano. And I just never left, right? And I'm still here. Now, Reverend Dr. Yeah! And so for about 8 years, Reverend Dr. Michelle was my senior minister, my inspiration. And then she was called back to the church where she started this journey in Denver, and 10 years ago, she completed her time of 17 and a half years as a senior minister of New Vision Center. How amazing is that? Yes. And so I am so grateful to welcome her back during this year of sabbatical. She has said yes to stepping in and supporting New Vision Center as Reverend Leslie and myself are taking our sabbaticals. And this is the first time this year, so please help me welcome my good friend, Reverend Dr. Michelle Madrano.
Thank you. Woo-hoo. So many wonderful, familiar faces. Even though my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, I see you. It's so nice and warm here. It's really nice to be in 55 degrees instead of minus 7 or 8 degrees. So, see, everything is just a comparison, right? It's a perspective. So I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be coming back a number of times this year and spending a little more time here and seeing some of you. So it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. And today, this time of year is so special. So for those of you who haven't been around for a while or are new to this teaching or this church, those of you watching online who are brand new, there's a wonderful tradition. We don't have a ton of traditions in religious science. We're kind of open and creative. But one tradition we have that I love is going back to the basic ideas of our teaching every January. We have centers and churches all over the globe. And many of them do this in January. However many Sundays there are that they revisit the basic teachings. What do we believe? How do we live it out? Just as Reverend Karen has been talking about. And so I love those Sundays, and I'm very happy to get to speak here. We're doing it at Mile High Church. Happy to speak here today about that very thing. So whether you really know this teaching well, it's an opportunity to go deeper. And if you're brand new, or if you know people who might be interested, these are great Sundays to presence people to here at New Vision Center for the whole month of January, to learn more about what is that place and what do they believe and what do they stand for. Great opportunity. And so each one of us who are speaking in January got to pick a statement that was written by the founder of our teaching, Dr. Ernest Holmes. Now, it so happens that today would have been Ernest Holmes' 137th birthday, if he were still alive. 137 years. Happy birthday, Dr. Holmes, wherever you are. And that means that he'd likely still be dead, but unless he was like one of those, Old Testament folks who lived till they were 900 or whatever, which could happen. But he is being celebrated today by our Science of Mind archives. There's a big birthday party online for him, and every year we honor his birthday. And it just so happens, in case you don't know it, I don't know if she's here or not, but it's also Reverend Catherine McDowell's birthday. There she is. Happy birthday, Reverend Catherine. Yay. Mwah. She's younger than Ernest Holmes. She's only 136. Yes, good to see you, my friend. So it so happens that this community is focused on a writing by Ernest Holmes. He was invited by a reporter back in 1927. Hey, what do you guys actually believe? And so he sat and he penned out a number of statements. I think it's about 10 or so. And then he gave it to the gentleman, and it was published in a newspaper in Los Angeles. And then our Science of Mind magazine, that's been in publication for that long, if not longer, published it, and it became a cornerstone of our teaching. And so we got to pick our statements, and I picked the one that is the most perplexing to me, because I wanted to use it to process with it and grow through it. And it's all about, in my mind, it's about freedom. The core idea today is about freedom, and that's the name of this message, freedom, with a couple exclamation points, because it's all about how can we gain more spiritual freedom and therefore experience greater freedom in our everyday living. So here is the statement that Ernest Holmes penned. We believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. And I know some days I feel that, and sometimes I don't. I don't feel that at all. And the part of the concept that is really fascinating to me is about that discord stuff. That we shall have an emancipation from all discord. It's like a money-back guarantee or something that he's stating, right? You're all guaranteed to have it. And so it's an opportunity, and a huge part of, as I reflect upon this statement, one of the questions I want to start with today, right away, is I think this statement reflects an invitation for us to say, how would I be living my life if I knew it was all gonna work out just fine? Would I? Yeah. That sounds important to you today, Jolene. Good, I'm glad to hear that. How would I be living my life if I was sure it's all gonna work out? It's all gonna be fine. And today with that question, I'm inviting us to really take a deeper look at, because the thing that usually trips us up when it comes to that question is that word that's in that statement, discord. Discord. What happens for us when we get really caught up in our human life and our human journey is that discord rules. Everything is about managing my discord, about getting over it, getting through it, getting rid of it, transcending it, hiding it, whatever it is we are doing with our discord. But it's an obsession that we might get caught up in. And then our life becomes about that and just actually begins to reflect more discord. And everything becomes more discordant. And so it's a challenge, because then someone comes along, like some wonderful new thought, unity, science, a minder person, and you're in the midst of your discord, and they give you some spiritual platitude like this statement, and it's gonna work out. It's assured, it's gonna work out. And I just sometimes want to slap them, right? I don't feel that it's all gonna work out. Think about those times when that happens to us in this teaching, and let's just put it out there for the new people. Sometimes I've been in the midst of the grief of the loss of a loved one who's gone on to the next plane of existence to live out whatever comes next. And I'm in that grief, and some caring person says something to me like, well, you know, they're in a better place. It's true, but is it helpful? Right? It's true, but is it comforting? No. Or if we're in a place where we're struggling with something in our lives and we're really working hard on it, and we share it with someone and they hear us and they're with us, and then they say, it's all good. It's all good. It's true, but is it helpful? I'm not sure it's always helpful. So how do we navigate the dance of this kind of freedom and this truth with ourselves and with one another as we walk this path, and still be free and empowered and energized and experience the dynamics of it? And so it's a powerful invitation to feel that kind of reality of this human existence, yet the spiritual truth that exists for all of us at the same time. That would be like the emancipation from the freedom, and the freedom from discord would be, yes, this is true, and there's probably more for me. Instead of, it hurts, I want it to stop, it hurts, I want it to stop, and. Instead of, I'm so disappointed, and I'm keeping my heart open. It's the both and approach for ourselves and for our world. There's so much violence going on, yes. And what's possible for humanity. There's so much suffering in the world, yes. And what is going on for us or other people through those moments and those experiences of suffering. I've often said that it's almost a spiritual disrespect that we look out at people who are suffering or going through discord and offer them pity and believe that they can't transcend it. It's spiritually disrespectful because we don't know what the truth of their soul is in that moment and what's going on. And doesn't mean we don't do everything we can to end it, that we don't pray for those things to end or pray for suffering to cease. Doesn't mean that we don't do that. It's both and. This is what this statement is telling us. It's both and. And in order to truly practice this, I think we have to look at this kind of in the phrase of what people call the long game and the short game, right? The short game is my life, my conditions, my circumstances, my stuff. All fascinating. You got to pay attention to that. The long game is I'm a spiritual being living this life, and it's all going to be okay. At some point, it's all going to be okay. Even as I step into the next life, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. And so it's about holding that opportunity. I think there are two concepts that most support us in this. The first one is paradox, and the second one is trust. The first one is about learning to live with paradox. Paradox is defined as two contradictory or contrary ideas that are both true at the same time. See, it's not either or, it's both and. It's not I'm a human being and these things are challenging, or I'm a spiritual being and everything's fine. It's both and. And we get to learn that through this dance of life. And sometimes it shows up in humor. Like I found a pretty paradoxical, interesting statement for this time of year. If your New Year's resolution is to break your resolution, would keeping it mean you broke it? Aha! Yeah, right? And then I found this cute cartoon this past week that I just have loved, and it's just made me giggle all week. It's in a cemetery, and there are these chickens around a casket, and it's an open casket, and you see there's a chicken in the casket, and there's a chicken preacher, and the chicken preacher is saying, and though we'll never know just why Dave wanted to cross the road, we can rest assured that he is now, at last, on the other side. Paradox, right? And indeed, when I look at myself sometimes, I see the paradox and it makes me giggle. It makes me giggle at myself. Oh, you're really taking yourself seriously right now. Look how important you think this is. You think you're limited by this. Oh, you've lost sight of who you really are. Because who you really are is this, but you're living from that. What a paradox, right? That we're tempted into all the time, thinking that we're limited by our circumstances, our conditions, our past, that anything has the capacity to actually keep us from being the spiritual magnificence that we came here to be. And as long as we persist in believing that, that's what I love about this teaching. We get to be right. But Holmes, in this statement, says, please just think about this. And in order to do this, I had a teacher who used to say, the mind and the heart that can be with a paradox is the spiritually illumined mind, spiritually mature mind, the being who's able to truly walk themselves home in this lifetime with greater peace and love. And we may think we can't do that. We've been so trained, it's either or. We may think we can't do that. But I brought some images today of some paradox. We see a lot of these images, like this image of what they'll say, what do you see first? And then they'll give it all kinds of meaning. Like if you see faces here, you're a very relational oriented person. If you see a chalice, you're like Michelle and you love tequila. I don't know what I'm not. I'm not giving it any meaning like that today. But what I think is more important is I want you to take a look at this one too. Do you see the faces or do you see the tree, right? And once you see both of them, notice how you can see both of them. Your eye might go to one first, but eventually the brain allows us to see both of them. This is what we're talking about in life, the spiritual dance of being able to see it both ways. To see that I am a human, I'm not in denial of these circumstances, I'm not pretending they're not there, I'm not pushing them aside, I'm looking right at them, and I'm at the same time bringing the power of who I am to this. So what if the truth about me and every other person is, I am flawed and I am perfect? And the truth about everyone else is that there are people who can do horrible, stupid things that I don't agree with, and they are still God expressing. That's the paradox. That's the mind of the spiritual and the heart of the spiritually centered, spiritually mature person who doesn't walk around so, they used to say, so spiritually enlightened that they're no earthly good, or so caught up in their earthly experience that they've forgotten who they are. It's walking the dance of both and paradox. Richard Rohr, beautiful author, says to us, it's not that we hold paradox, it's that paradox holds us. We are held in a deep place, an ample place, a generous place. And so we get to be with paradox. Notice being with paradox, being with both and this week. Means my soul, my essence, the deepest aspect of me always gets what it needs to continue my journey in the highest and best way as I live out my life. And just think of all the power we could have if we could just stop resisting what is so right. A huge part of what exhausts us is we're in resistance to what is so. This should not be happening. This is wrong. I don't like it. And it's an obsessive march. But in resisting, a non-resistance, this is what's so. How can I bring the highest and best of me to it? I can feel that. There's something that just opens up. The next word that I'm suggesting this statement invites us into is a greater sense of trust. Trust in our journey, trust in our God, trust in the universe, trust in life, trust. And the way that, I love this way that Ernest Holmes talks about trust. He says to us, trust life. There is no power in the universe which wishes anyone ill. Life is good and God is good. Why not accept this and begin to live? No one need prepare to meet God. We are meeting God in the rising sun, in the flowing stream, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love, and in the silence of our own souls. He's saying, trust it. Even in the things that are going on that we wish were not there, the presence and the power of God is right there. And this can elude us. I was having an experience a while back where I was experiencing pain, some pain about something in my life, and I was meditating because that's what I believe in. I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to take that into my meditation. And in that, I was desperately seeking the sense of the presence of God, my pain and my frustration was so high, I wasn't able to feel that presence as powerfully as I could. And I was sort of placing a demand that God show up for me. I want to feel God now kind of energy, right? And so I sat there in the quiet, waiting. And it was kind of just like your giggles just now. This kind of giggledness came up inside me, and then I was like, what is that? There's giggling going on in me. And I felt this inner voice say to me, you're right in it right now. You can't escape it. Silly girl, you're so silly. You're breathing God. Your body is God. You can't escape it if you tried. What do you mean you want to feel God? You're just like, you're right in it right now. And it was like, oh, whoa. Oh, there it is. Because it was that paradox of thinking there's me and my life, and then there's God. No. We say here, all is God. All. Every moment, every bit of us, every second, every outcome, everything. We are always in the mystical presence of the divine. Every moment. And the secret is feeling it and trusting there is an eternal nature within us, as us, through us, and just settling into it and allowing our lives to unfold from that state of divine grace. So I have some strategies that I invite us to consider this week for dancing with the paradox and anchoring in the trust and bringing us into the full experience of this powerful statement from our founder. Strategies for living this belief. The first is creating a how it all worked out journal. We have a lot of gratitude journals, and I know for myself, when I think about my life and the things that are happening, it helps me to anchor back into, remember that time when you thought it was all messed up? In fact, we used to have a board president here named Jim Reich. I'm sure many of you remember him. And even in board meetings, he would say, it's all whole, perfect, and completely messed up. Now, to be honest, he used another word for messed that I will not repeat here. That's totally up to you. But it reminds me to look back when I write things down and say, I was really stuck. I didn't know how this was going to work out. I didn't know how I was going to make it work. I figured it out, and here's what happened. And then to go back and revisit it when I feel stuck now, to remind myself, like, I just surrendered and allowed life to lead me. And I have memories and incidents. One of my most profound ones was when I was in my early 20s, I did this 4-week kind of vision quest on my own. I remember it was so hard for me because I told my mother, I don't want to talk to you for 4 weeks, and we had a hard time with that because all I did was go to work and then go home and do spiritual work. And the last week, I went to Mexico, to a little town outside of Cabo San Lucas, and I used a new tour company that had been brand new in the world. My travel agent set me up, and I went to Mexico. I didn't have a lot of money. It was a package deal. And so I ate 1 meal a day, and I think I ate like protein bars on the beach. I had 1 beer. That really knocked me for a loop. 1 beer on the trip. And I just prayed and meditated for a week. And then it was time to go home, and I packed up, I checked out, I went to the front desk, and I stood there waiting for the little shuttle to come and take me back. And I was waiting, and I was waiting. I had no cash, because I'd spent it all on the food. I had no credit cards because I hadn't established any credit, and I'm stranded there in Cabo San Lucas at this hotel, and I'm using my best Spanish to try to talk to them, and I couldn't take a cab because I didn't have money for a cab, and I was starting to panic. I was starting to really freak out. And so I sat in the lobby, and I just took a deep breath, and I said, I know there's got to be a solution to this. And so this voice said, get up and go to the pool. Okay. So I got up and I walked to the pool, and there's all these people around the pool, and I see this woman sitting on a lounge chair, and something about her said, go to her. So I went to her and I explained my situation. And I said, I just need $8 to get to the airport. Would you happen to have $8? And she said, oh, sure, honey. And she got her purse out and she handed me the money. And I said, would you please write down your address for me so I can send the money back to you? And so she wrote her name and address down and handed it to me. She lived right behind me in Denver. On the next block behind me. It was like, when I got home, I delivered the check back to her. It was so easy and so flowing. And I remember the relief I had when I got in that cab and got to the airport on time for my flight. But I've written that in my Remember How That Worked Out journal. And I bet you have those too. Remember that thing you thought wasn't going to work out? And it worked out. And every time you get stuck in this time frame and think it's not going to work out, I don't know how it's going to, go back and just read some of those ones that did and remind yourself, the grace of the universe is flowing through me. Here's evidence of all these times it did before. Why would it ever abandon me now? The next one on the list then is to get present to what's sow and what's grow. As I was saying earlier, yep, this is what's sow. And a lot of the challenges in our life are there because of Ernest Holmes saying, nothing's out there to get you. Nothing. I don't believe that God is, let me test them, let me make sure they're worthy, they need to prove it. But our consciousness, at the deepest levels of our being, even at the soul level of our being, it's still working stuff out. And often to smooth out the energies that need to be smoothed out, it means stuff that doesn't look so pretty at first. Challenges, upsets, conflicts, frustrations, issues that arise. And if we could rather stop seeing these as life is victimizing me and making it hard for me and the universe is trying to teach me something and I don't know what, we just start to listen and say, what could I most learn from this challenge? Yeah, it's not fun, it's not pleasant, but how could I use it for my greatest good? Rather than feeling like it's using me, what if I use it, right? What if I become empowered within it and allow myself to make the most of it? What can I get the most out of? I have seen over my many years now in ministry, people who've been sick, who their illness led to the reconnection of a family. People who've had financial challenge that it led them to creating a life of abundance. People who have had conflict in a relationship become willing to do the work where that relationship became the most powerful, flowering relationship of their lives. It's possible, but we have to hold it like that. How can I get the juice from this challenge? I'm going to take it all. The next one is take it into your contemplative prayer and your meditation. Just like I've been talking about. What is this about? What is this teaching me? How can I use this? Are there any creative ideas? This is the place from which that good flows for us. And then back to where we started. How would I live in this if I knew it was all going to work out? Would I take that risk? Would I leap into that opportunity? Would I have that conversation? Would I raise my hand for that opportunity, that volunteer thing, or that invitation that I've been pushing away, if I knew it was all going to work out? This is a huge part of being emancipated from all discord. This is a part of owning and claiming that this goal shall be attained by all. And we can attain more of it in this life, and in the next. Because a huge part of this goal is touching into what we believe in science of mind and spirit, that we are eternal beings. There's an aspect of us that has always been, that is here now, and shall always be, in some form or another. And this is why and how I think our founder can assure us it's all going to work out. And I'm standing here today saying to myself and all who hear my voice, it's all going to work out. Let's just trust that. Please join me for some prayer right now as we go within and just breathe in. For we know that right here in this moment, as we sit together in this beautiful place of the infinite presence, this sanctuary of love and light here at New Vision Center and online, that we are in the midst of the divine and it is in the midst of us. That we are anchored in it and it is anchored in us. And every moment that we've experienced thus far, whether it's been a moment of music or prayer or information, is sacred, holy, God-informed moments of beingness. And we allow ourselves to feel and sense that and surrender into that and allow our hearts, our body, our mind, our very soul, our essence to open wide to that infinite. For the greater we are an opening through which God may be expressed, the greater we are guided, the more awareness we have, and the more we can feel that spiritual confidence that God is, I am, and all is well. All is well. We feel those words reverberating in this space as Jackie sang them, reverberating in our being. All is well. Even in that, all is well. Even with this, all is well. Even though all is well with my soul, in my soul. As the light that I am, all is well. I accept and affirm this is the truth of each one of us right here and right now. And that we go forth from this place with that spiritual confidence, that spiritual chutzpah, absolutely, as the core of our beingness in every relationship, in every choice, in every part of our journey. We are blessed beyond measure. We accept this and affirm this now. With loving gratitude that this is so, I simply let it go and I let it be. And so it is.